Hi, I'm Evelyn. While arranging the newest additions to my library, the patter of little feet echoes through our suburban home. My kids race to their favorite spots among the towering bookshelves. Mom, can we read the dragon book again? Mason bounces on his toes, excitement lighting up his face. No fair. We read that yesterday, Zoe protests, her pigtails swinging as she folds her arms. How about we try something new today? I suggest, reaching for a beautifully illustrated mythology book. Before we can settle in, a familiar grating voice cuts through the peaceful moment. There you go again, Evelyn, filling their heads with nonsense. My father-in-law William says as he steps into the room unannounced. I suppress a sigh. Dad, I didn't know you were coming over. Michael, my husband, emerges from his home office, looking as uncomfortable as always when William shows up. Can't a grandfather check on his grandchildren? William replies smoothly. His gaze shifts to Mason. Speaking of which, how's baseball going? Mason hesitates, shuffling his feet. I joined the book club instead. Book club? William's eyebrows shoot up. Michael, are you hearing this? At his age, you were already excelling in sports. Evelyn's turning him soft with all this reading nonsense. My jaw tightens. Mason chose the book club himself, William. He's thriving there. Of course he did. With you pushing all these books on him, William retorts. You're a literature professor, Evelyn, but that doesn't mean you should impose your lifestyle on my grandson. Later that evening, my best friend Scarlett stops by. A lawyer with a sharp eye for toxic behavior. She listens as I pour us both some wine. You won't believe what William did today, I sigh. Let me guess. More unsolicited parenting advice? She says with a knowing look. Exactly. He basically called me a bad mother for encouraging Mason to read. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. You're not crazy, Em. He's trying to control everything because he thinks his money gives him the right. Lily, Michael's sister, joins us after dinner, glancing nervously toward the door as if William might appear any moment. Em, I just want you to know I support you, she whispers. What Dad's doing isn't right, but... You can't speak up because he's funding your gallery, Scarlett finishes. Lily nods, her voice barely audible. He's already threatened to pull funding twice because I displayed controversial art. I can't risk losing everything. I squeeze her hand. I understand, Lily, truly. 3 days later, I stand in my backyard staring at the ashes of 15 years of memories. The acrid smell of burnt paper lingers in the air as my hands tremble, clutching a charred fragment of my mother's copy of Jane Eyre. What did you do? I whisper, my voice shaking. It had to be done, Evelyn, William says, his tone calm, infuriatingly dismissive. Those books were becoming an obsession. The kids barely played outside anymore. They're on 3 sports teams, William. They spend plenty of time outside, I snap. Michael shifts uncomfortably beside his father. Dad thought maybe we could use the space for something more practical. More practical than their education, than their heritage. I demand, my voice breaking. Evelyn, let's not be dramatic. I've already ordered some exercise equipment, William says with infuriating smugness. He burned my mother's books, I whisper, tears stinging my eyes. Her notes, her thoughts, the only pieces of her I had left. Our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, appears at the fence, her expression grim. I saw what happened yesterday, she says. I have it all on video if you need it. William's face turns red. You were spying on private family matters. When I see someone burning books in their backyard, you bet I record it, she snaps. That night, as I sift through Mason's school records, I find something chilling. Emails between William and my children's teachers. Look at these, I say, thrusting the papers at Michael. Your father's been emailing their teachers, asking them to forward concerns about their academic performance. He's just worried, Michael says weakly. They're both on the honor roll. Zoe's reading 2 grades above her level. He thinks pushing them too hard now could burn them out later, Michael mumbles. I stare at him, aghast. Your father burned my library. How can you defend him? He offered to pay for everything, Michael says, his voice barely audible. I don't want his money, I say firmly. I want my children to grow up knowing it's okay to love books, to think for themselves. The doorbell rings. It's Lily, her face pale and her hands trembling as she steps inside. I just heard what Dad did, she says, her voice breaking. Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. He did something similar to my art supplies in college. What? I asked, stunned. He said art wouldn't pay the bills and burned everything except my business textbooks. That's why I stopped painting, and now he's done it again. Lily, this has to stop, I say firmly. She nods and pulls a small flash drive from her pocket. I brought you something. It's all his emails to Michael about the kids, plus some concerning messages to their teachers. I also have evidence of how he's been manipulating everyone with his money. Why are you showing me this now? I ask. Because I was too scared to stand up to him before, she admits. But watching him destroy your library like he destroyed my art, I can't stay quiet anymore. And Tom Wilson isn't just our neighbor, he's an investigative journalist. Maybe it's time someone exposed Dad's concerned grandfather act. Scarlett and Tom join us at the dining table that evening, spreading papers and receipts across the surface. Take a look at these renovation receipts, Scarlett says, pointing to the documents. Your father-in-law's company charged triple the market rate for basic projects. And here's where it gets interesting. Tom highlights several transactions. These huge payments went to shell companies that all trace back to offshore accounts. He used that money to control everyone. Lily's hands tremble as she picks up one of the documents. The down payment for my gallery. It came from one of these fake renovation projects. That's how he kept us dependent on him. I stare at the papers, my mind racing. Scarlett, remember when I was offered that department chair position at Berkeley? The one that mysteriously fell through. Tom taps his laptop. Found the email trail. William contacted the dean directly, claiming you were under investigation for academic fraud. What? My voice shakes. I never knew. There's more, Lily says, pulling out her phone. Remember my ex-fiancé, Mark? Dad didn't just disapprove of him being a teacher. She presses play on a recording. William's voice fills the room. Either you end it with that worthless teacher, or I'll make sure he never works in education again. Choose wisely. Lily's eyes glisten with unshed tears. He's been playing chess with our lives for years, using his money and influence to push us wherever he wanted. The doorbell rings again. This time, it's Michael. He looks pale as he steps inside, clutching a folder. I found something in Dad's office, he says, his voice low. The company's facing an audit. He's been cooking the books for years. We know, Scarlett says, crossing her arms. We've got proof of everything. The fake renovations, the blackmail, the sabotage. Even that anonymous tip about Mason's art teacher being unqualified. That was him too. Michael sinks into a chair, his face stricken. I knew he was controlling, but this... What do we do? I ask, glancing at Tom. Tom straightens. We've got enough for multiple stories: financial fraud, systematic manipulation, abuse of power. 3 major papers are already interested, plus some business journals asking questions about the company's practices. Michael hesitates, pulling out his phone. Listen to this voice note from last week. He plays a message and William's voice floods the room. You better keep your wife in line, son. Remember who owns your house, your car, your children's college funds, everything you have. I gave you everything, and I can take it away. Michael takes a deep breath, his voice steady for the first time. No, Dad. Everything we have, you used to control us. Not anymore. The doorbell rings again. This time it's Zoe's teacher, Mrs. Thompson. She looks nervous, clutching a folder tightly in her hands. I need to confess something, she begins, her voice trembling. Your father-in-law asked me to create false concern reports about Zoe's performance. I refused, and he threatened my job. I have the emails. Add it to the pile, Scarlett says grimly, motioning to the growing mountain of evidence on the table. Tom examines the new documents, his expression resolute. This isn't just a story. This is the end of William Thompson's empire of control. Lily picks up one of William's threatening emails, her face set in determination. All these years, we thought we needed his money to succeed. But really, he needed our silence to keep his fraud going. I stand, thinking of my burned library and the memories it held. He should have remembered that knowledge is power, I say, my voice steady, and he just made the mistake of burning the wrong books. Later that evening, William stands in my doorway, checkbook in hand. His face is plastered with that familiar, fake apologetic smile. I'll pay for everything, he says, waving the checkbook, triple what those books were worth. You still don't get it, do you? I reply, crossing my arms. This was never about money. Don't be difficult. Evelyn, he says, his tone shifting. Take the money and let's put this behind us. Just like Lily put her art behind her. Just like Michael put his teaching dreams behind him. The next day, Tom's expose hits the headlines. Construction empire built on fraud. The William Thompson story. Michael reads from his phone, his expression a mixture of disbelief and relief. The board's launching a full investigation. All projects suspended, accounts frozen. Dad's trying to reach everyone, Lily adds, shaking her head. He's desperate. Have you seen the investor lawsuits? Scarlett asks, walking in with a stack of legal documents. They're coming after everything. The doorbell rings continuously for days. We don't answer. William's voice grows hoarser with each visit, his threats weaker. Then silence. Months later, I stand in my new library. It's bigger, brighter, and filled with carefully chosen books. Sunlight streams through the windows as I address a room full of women. Welcome to our first workshop. Today, we're discussing financial independence and recognizing controlling behavior. Through the window, I spot William across the street. His shoulders are slumped, his hair grayer than I remember. His company is gone, his reputation shattered, his control evaporated. The investigation revealed decades of fraud, and his former clients aren't feeling forgiving. Mom. Mason bursts into the room, holding a trophy. Our book club won first place. And guess what? I got accepted into art school. Lally hugs me tightly, tears in her eyes. Full scholarship, she says, her voice trembling with pride. The restraining order has been approved, Michael adds quietly, stepping up beside me. He can't come near us anymore. I look at my family, really look at them. Michael stands taller now, no longer weighed down by his father's shadow. Lily smiles more often, the light in her eyes rekindled. The kids are thriving. On my desk sits a framed quote from one of my burned books. Sometimes losing everything is the best way to find what you never knew you needed. Ready for story time? I ask as everyone settles into the cozy reading nooks. Can we read about standing up to dragons? Zoe asks, her eyes shining. I smile, thinking of the real dragon we slayed. Those are my favorite stories too. Reflection. What would you do if someone deliberately destroyed something irreplaceable that represented your life's passion and memories? Would you take the money they offered as compensation, or would you choose justice, even if it meant tearing apart your entire family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. Let's talk about putting Adam in a special institution. I know a great place. That's how my mother, Mia, started our weekly family dinner, making my blood boil as usual. My 7-year-old son, Adam, sat beside me, meticulously organizing his peas into perfect rows, a calming habit tied to his autism. It was harmless, but my mother despised it. Mom, we've been over this, I said sharply. Adam's making amazing progress with his current therapy. Well, Rachel's wedding is coming up, and we need everything to be perfect. My mother emphasized the last word, her tone dripping with implication. As if summoned by the mere mention of her name, my half-sister Rachel waltzed in, late as always, flashing her massive engagement ring. Oh my God, the wedding planner just showed me the most amazing centerpieces, she gushed. How nice, I muttered, keeping my focus on Adam, who was managing well in a chaos. Just yesterday, his therapist had noted his progress with making eye contact. Olivia, sweetie, my mother began in that condescendingly sweet voice of hers. We need to discuss your role as bridesmaid, and Adam's presence at the ceremony. My stomach tightened. With my husband, Andrew, away on another sales trip, I was alone in this fight. What about Adam's presence? Rachel chimed in, her voice annoyingly chipper. Well, we're just worried he might have one of his episodes, with the loud noises and all. My voice hardened. My son has a name, Rachel, and he's sitting right here. James, my stepfather, coughed awkwardly from behind his newspaper, but didn't look up. He never got involved, too preoccupied running his company to bother with family drama. Darling, my mother pressed, reaching across the table, we just want everything to go smoothly for Rachel's special day. Maybe Andrew's parents could watch Adam. Adam's soft voice cut through the tension. Mom, are they talking about me? I squeezed his hand under the table, our silent signal. No, sweetheart. Everything's fine. Keep eating. Rachel rolled her eyes. Kevin's family is very traditional, Liv. They're expecting a certain kind of wedding. A certain kind? I interrupted, my voice rising. You mean one without your autistic nephew? Don't be dramatic, my mother sighed. We're trying to help. Your parenting choices are unconventional. Unconventional? I shot back. Because I refuse to hide my son away. Because I'm proud of who he is. Rachel smirked, gesturing to Adam. Look at him now, playing with his food. That's exactly what I mean. That's enough. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping the floor. Adam, honey, we're leaving. As I buckled him into the car seat, Adam's big blue eyes searched mine. Mom, are you mad? Not at you, baby. Never at you. Driving home, I couldn't shake the sense that this wedding drama was far from over. Little did I know, I was absolutely right. At the rehearsal dinner, the country club buzzed with activity. Adam sat quietly in a corner, absorbed in his tablet. I noticed my mother huddled with her friend Sarah, who worked as a nurse. Their furtive glances toward Adam sent a chill down my spine. I brought what you asked for, Sarah whispered, slipping something into my mother's purse. Just a mild sedative, my mother muttered. It's for the best. Olivia doesn't understand what's at stake. My heart dropped. Was I hearing this right? Pretending to fix Adam's collar, I watched as my mother moved toward the drink station, where his apple juice sat waiting. Hey, sweetie, want your juice? She called, reaching into her purse. I bolted across the room. What are you doing? My mother jumped, dropping a small pill bottle. Purple tablets spilled across the floor. Are these Axanax? Someone murmured. Mom, were you trying to drug my son? My voice shook with rage. The room fell silent. Rachel rushed over, her rehearsal dress swishing. What's going on? Your grandmother was about to slip medication into Adam's drink, I exclaimed. Olivia, don't be absurd, my mother scoffed. It's just something to help him stay calm. To help him stay calm, he's not a dog you can tranquilize. Sarah tried to back away, but I blocked her path. You gave her these, didn't you? I was just trying to help, Sarah stammered. Mia said. Adam might have a meltdown. Rachel interjected. Maybe Mom has a point. The only risk here, I snapped, is your grandmother going to jail for trying to drug a child. At that moment, the doors burst open and Andrew strode in. I caught an early flight, he announced, taking in the tense scene. What's going on? Before I could respond, my Aunt Amelia jumped in. It's just a misunderstanding. Mia was only trying to help. Help. Andrew's face darkened as I explained what had happened. You tried to drug our son, he demanded. Mia, you're overreacting, my mother insisted, her voice strained but unwavering. It was just a little something to keep him quiet during the ceremony. I bent down, picking up one of the scattered pills. This is prescription medication, I hissed. You could have killed him. Now you're being melodramatic, Rachel snapped. This wouldn't even be necessary if you had better control over your son. Andrew wrapped his arms around Adam protectively. We're leaving, he said coldly. And if anyone so much as thinks about coming near our son with medication again, we're calling the police. As we walked out, my mother's voice followed us. Olivia always makes everything about her, even my darling Rachel's wedding. I didn't care anymore. Let them talk. All that mattered was protecting Adam from the toxic people who called themselves family. After the rehearsal dinner disaster, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to my mother's behavior than just wedding stress. Determined to uncover the truth, I started digging. My first lead came from an unexpected source, a fellow mom from Adam's therapy group. Your mother told us Adam was violently dangerous, Lisa revealed during a phone call. She said we shouldn't let our kids near him. What? My hands shook with rage. She came to our support group meeting when you were out sick last month. Lisa continued. Said Adam had put another child in the hospital. The lies didn't stop there. A few days later, my cousin Emma called me, her voice trembling. I feel terrible, Emma admitted. Mia told us Adam tried to hurt your baby niece. That's why we didn't invite you to the christening. As if that weren't enough, a text from Sarah's coworker at the hospital tipped me off to yet another revelation. They're investigating missing medications. Sarah mentioned your mother's name during questioning. And then the bombshell. James's assistant, Caroline, called me in secret. Olivia, you need to see these financial records, she whispered. Your mother's been transferring company funds into personal accounts for months. The wedding expenses, they're astronomical. Does James know? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He's starting to notice discrepancies, Caroline admitted. And there's more. She's been writing checks to people, claiming they're victims of Adam's outbursts. My heart sank as I forwarded everything to James. Within hours, the fallout began. Kevin, Rachel's fiancé, stormed into my house that evening, his face red with fury. Is it true? The wedding's being paid for with stolen money. Kevin, Don't lie to me, Olivia, he snapped. My father's an accountant. He reviewed the documents he sent James. Rachel burst in behind him, her face pale. What's going on? She demanded. You're not supposed to see me before the wedding. There won't be a wedding, Kevin said coldly, not until we get answers about the money. What money? Rachel stammered, her voice shaking. Olivia, what did you do? Me, I shot back. Ask your mother about the embezzled funds. Ask her about paying people to lie about Adam. Rachel's face turned ghostly white. Mom wouldn't. Kevin's phone buzzed. It's my father, he said, glancing at the screen. He's talking to James right now. Moments later, Sarah appeared at my door, mascara streaking her face. They suspended my nursing license, she sobbed. Mia promised she'd protect me. I crossed my arms, glaring at her. You should have thought about that before stealing medication to drug a child. Rachel sank onto my couch, tears streaming down her face. The venue called, she whispered. James froze the payment accounts. My perfect wedding. Isn't looking so perfect anymore, is it? I finished for her, my voice sharp. A twisted sense of satisfaction surged through me, but it was quickly swallowed by exhaustion. Olivia, please, Rachel begged, sobbing into her hands. You have to help me fix this. Fix what? I demanded, my voice rising. Mom's lies? The stolen money? The attempts to drug Adam? The years of making me feel like a horrible mother. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from family members all saying the same thing. We had no idea. Mia told us. We're so sorry. The truth had finally unraveled, and no amount of designer centerpieces could cover up the mess. A month after the wedding disaster, I sat in the garden, watching Adam play with Ruby, his new therapy dog. The past weeks had been a whirlwind of revelations and consequences, unraveling years of deception. James had called an emergency family meeting at his office. I'll never forget the look on my mother's face as he laid out the evidence. 7 years of systematic fraud. Mia, James said, his tone ice cold, you've stolen nearly $2 million. Mia, you've stolen nearly $2 million. James, darling, I can explain, she stammered. Save it for the divorce attorneys, he shot back. And Rachel, your wedding fund is being seized as evidence. Rachel gasped. But my social committee position, my charity board seats. All gone, James replied flatly. They've already voted you out. The follow-up didn't stop there. Sarah, now desperate to salvage her career, testified during her nursing board hearing. Mia had me forge prescriptions for years, she confessed, her voice breaking. Not just for Adam, diet pills, anxiety medication, sleeping tablets, for her society friends too. The dominoes kept falling. Rachel's perfect life crumbled when Kevin called off their engagement with a scathing social media post. I won't start a marriage based on stolen money and lies. Soon after, Rachel showed up at my door, clutching packed bags. Olivia, please, she begged. I can't afford my condo anymore. I crossed my arms. Try the efficiency apartments on Oak Street. I hear they're always hiring at the diner next door. My mother attempted a dramatic apology over coffee. I was just trying to maintain our family's image. You don't understand the pressure. No, Mom, I replied firmly. You don't understand. Adam was never the problem. You were. One by one, relatives called to apologize. Aunt Amelia broke down in tears. We should have stood up to Mia years ago, Olivia. We watched her torture you and Adam. And we did nothing. Meanwhile, Adam was thriving in his new therapy program. His therapist marveled at his progress now that the constant stress was gone. Mom, Adam asked one morning, his blue eyes sparkling, can I invite Tommy from therapy to my birthday? Of course, sweetheart, I replied smiling. We'll invite whoever you want. Last weekend, we hosted his birthday party in our backyard. The space was filled with joy. Adam's therapy group friends, their understanding parents, supportive family members who had earned back our trust. Andrew grilled burgers while Ruby, the dog, chased the kids through the sprinkler. I snapped a few photos and posted them online, knowing my mother and Rachel would see them. My mother, now living in a modest condo post-divorce, and Rachel, waiting tables between failed job interviews, were no longer part of our lives. Olivia, Andrew whispered, hugging me from behind. Adam's telling jokes to his friends. I looked over at my son. He was surrounded by people who accepted him exactly as he was. He laughed, made eye contact, and felt free to be himself, without fear of judgment or criticism. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother. I miss my grandson. I left it unread, just like the last dozen messages. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some apologies come too late. The party ended with Adam opening his presents, his face glowing with genuine joy. No one shushed him when he got excited. No one suggested medication when he needed a quiet moment. No one made him feel less than perfect. Best birthday ever, Mom, Adam said, hugging me tight. Looking around at our chosen family, the people who stood by us, protected Adam, and valued truth over appearances, I knew we found our happy ending, not in revenge, but in freedom from toxic people who had never deserved us in the first place. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, surrounded by authentic love and acceptance. Adam and I were doing exactly that. What would you do if you caught a family member trying to secretly drug your child? Would you maintain contact if they claimed they meant well, or would you cut them off completely, as I did? Share your thoughts in the comments below.